Welcome to the I Love Coaching podcast, the show where we help coaches, entrepreneurs, and leaders build businesses that create massive impact. I'm Adam Roach, alongside my incredible co-host,
Jess Webber, and we're here today to bring you the best strategies, mindset shifts, and real-life success stories to help you level up in your coaching journey.
Whether you're launching your coaching business, scaling to 6 or 7 figures, or just looking for inspiration to push through, this podcast is your go-to resource.
We're bringing you expert insights, real talk, and actionable items every single episode. So if you're ready to take your coaching game to the next level,
then let's dive on in. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the I Love Coaching podcast. You know me. My name is Adam Roach and
Jess Webber.
We are here. We're back, Jess. It is time for another podcast.
We are. I'm excited about today's conversation.
Me too. And I'm glad to be in my podcast studio because here in Charleston this past week, it has snowed. Snowed and iced. Jess, we don't do that stuff very well down here in the South. Like at all.
I know it's been very entertaining to watch y'all post about it when I'm like, oh yeah, we had 8 to 12 inches and we've had a thick layer of ice for 3 weeks because the temperature never gets above 30. So
I mean, I've had to cover all of my my fruit trees. I've had to cover any other plants that I've wanted to save. I had to cover with bed sheets, which was kind of interesting because, well, Dana didn't really tell me what bed sheets I could or couldn't use. And so I just went into the linen closet and got a bunch of bed sheets. She got home and she was like, why are our good bed sheets out on our plants? I was like, because I'm going to save them.
Yep.
So that was an interesting family conversation, to say the least, of the cold. Nevertheless, the sheets will dry, they'll wash, and hopefully I will save our lemon, orange, and lime tree.
Yes, I hope the same for you.
Yep. Me too. So what's new in your world, real quick? Give us an update. What's new in your world?
We've just been kind of, like I said, hunkered down with cold weather and just overcoming my son's 6th heart surgery. So that's been interesting. He's done well. He's back at school and living his best life, but that always throws a monkey wrench in things. So I just have massive gratitude for, doctors, nurses, care teams, and the fact that we've built an organization that could allow me to, put him first. So
that's so cool. And Big T, he did such a good job. Oh, I love seeing that boy smile. If you guys haven't seen his smile, go find Jess on any of her social media platforms and look at that big old smile that he has. Oh, it's the best. It's the best. Just the best.
It is.
So,
he's a heartbreaker. No.
He will be. So speaking of many moving parts, when we look at the coaches' businesses, I like to use this word, diluted focus. Right? Because we all can have diluted focus, right? We run 1,000,000 miles an hour. We do a little bit of this. We do a little bit of that. Our to-do list could be a mile long. When we do a little bit of this and do a little bit of that, we feel like we're putting in a lot of energy and effort and we're not making any more money, right? We see that all the time.
Oh, 100%. And I think, honestly, that's the nature of being an entrepreneur, which we, that's what a coach is truly an entrepreneur at heart. And so we get so excited about shiny objects or new ideas or new opportunities, new income streams, whatever the case may be. And yet every time that we add something with the word new, it automatically dilutes our current focus or trajectory. So
that's right.
I think this is a very valid conversation.
So diluted focus. So if you're listening to this right now and you have diluted focus, which you probably all do, you need to stop driving and pull over and take some notes. Or if you're listening on the treadmill, don't fall off, take some notes, because we're going to share with you a model that we've created called the Business Clarity Accelerator. That's right, the Business Clarity Accelerator. Now, I have to give credit where credit is due. I learned this from Coach Graham Cochran. Graham is an amazing guy. He's written quite a few good books. He's a community builder. So this all came from my learning of Graham's system, and he calls it something different. So I renamed it the Business Clarity Accelerator. You ready to dive in?
Let's go.
Let's do it. So step number one is you have to know your destination. I didn't say goal. I said your destination. Where are you going this year? Because a destination, Jess, is super simple to identify. So for example, if I want to go to your house, I know I need to leave Charleston and head northwest, and I'll wind up somewhere in Missouri at some time at your house, and that is my destination, right?
Mm-hmm.
Along the way, I'll have sub-destinations. I may have to stop and get gas. I may have to use the restroom, though I know that my ultimate destination is getting to your house. So as we talk about the Business Clarity Accelerator, the first question you have to ask and answer is, what is your destination?
So let me ask this just for those listening, because we just did a whole bunch of episodes on goals.
Yes.
How does that relate to that? So is destination a smaller goal inside your larger one or inside your vision, or how does that work?
Yep, great question. So you can look at your destination as more of a macro, and then
Okay.
the goals as more of a micro. So I'll give you an example. There is, actually, I'll go into, let's just talk real estate as an example. If you're in the real estate world and you know that your focus should be listing appointments, great. Then you should have a macro, which is I want to do $50 million in production, and my goal is to go on 150 listing appointments. Those are your destinations, right? One is a destination, and then the other one is a goal, though you need to know where you are going. And I use that example because as a personal, I have a client, one-on-one client that I coach. And in 2014, we did this. We gave him a big goal. We gave him his destination, and then we broke it down into a goal, and that goal was 150 listing appointments.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, what does that help create? There's a word that us entrepreneurs are not good at saying. It's a two-letter word.
I was going to say, is it 2 letters and it begins with an N and ends with an O?
and usually, how old's Thomas? He's 4, right?
4. Yeah.
Usually at the age of around 2 to 3, maybe even 4, these amazing little kids learn to use the word no. Somewhere along the way, we forget that word no as entrepreneurs, and we say yes to everything. So when you know your destination and then you have a clear goal, you can actually say no. So if I'm choosing to drive to Jess Webber's house and someone says, hey, Adam, Morgan Wallen is playing in Miami, Florida, who I know you really love. Would you love to come to it? And I would say, absolutely, but my destination is Jess's house. So the answer is no, right? That's a silly example.
St. Louis and Miami are not the same city.
No, they're definitely not the same city. So it stops me from getting to my destination. So ultimately, I can say the word no.
Okay. So we need to have a destination, and then we outline goals that help us achieve the path to the destination. And part of that is auditing what we're doing and saying yes to the right things and no to the wrong things is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Think about having that clarity, right? So if you're watching, if you scroll or on TikTok or any of the social media platforms and you see these people who have massive success and they say that, well, for you to achieve your success, you're going to probably piss a lot of people off. They're probably not wrong, right? They're probably not wrong. And here's what I mean by that is because the more times you say no to something that is not in alignment with your goals and your destination, the more times you're actually going to stay focused and not have diluted focus of what you might be saying yes to.
Yeah, I like that. Well, and also I think for practical application purposes, because we are talking a lot of kind of bigger cerebral mindset type stuff. It's a very easy thing if you're living by your calendar or doing the daily non-negotiables like we've talked about in previous episodes. When something comes your way, it's an opportunity, it's an idea, you can literally take 2 extra seconds and say, does this align with my goal or not? Yes or no? And being intentional before you put something in your calendar, before you respond to an event invite, before you spend the money on the conference or whatever the thing may be, if you literally ask yourself, does this help me achieve the goal? Yes or no? I think it becomes this really simple habit you can build and expedite your success because you're focused on the right things.
That's exactly right. And I want you to save what Jess just said there. Put a pin drop in that because we're going to use that in question 3 coming up is the word habit, right? And that is so good, Jess, because so many of us, and I'll just keep using the word entrepreneurs, so many entrepreneurs, we get squirreled. So many entrepreneurs get into the bright, shiny object syndrome and say yes when they should be saying no.
Exactly.
Because it doesn't align. Yeah. Okay, so that's question number one. What is your destination? Let's go to the second question. The second question is, who are you speaking to? Right? So I'm going to go macro with this language. Who are you speaking to? Now, let's break that down even further. Who are you speaking to means who is the one person you are focusing on and serving this year? Now, I don't mean singularly, though I do mean one avatar. Who is the single focus avatar that you are focusing on this year? As we teach in our blueprint, we have, gosh, I don't know what page that's on, but part of our engage process is defining the avatar, and we let them define 3 of them, and then we have them narrow it down to 1. And you have to know, who are you speaking to?
Well, and the whole reasoning behind that goes back to that phrase that you already mentioned, diluted focus. When you try to reach 2, 3, 4 avatars, even though you may be able to serve all of those 4 avatars at a high level, you may have past experience in the life of all 4 of those avatars, your messaging becomes as diluted as your focus. And so it's a key thing here to really single in on one thing so that you don't dilute the process and the journey along the way.
Yeah. And it's so easy to do, right? It's so easy to dilute your focus when you don't have clarity on the one person that you are serving and focusing on. Because now it just becomes, let's just throw something at a dartboard, whatever sticks is my focus for the time. No. Again, what are we focused on? Business Clarity Accelerator is the name of this model, is the name of this focus. And as we look at this, we're creating even more clarity when you can define a one focus and one person. Now let's go to the next part of this. What about your messaging resonates with that one person? Now, what in the world does that mean? Well, let's talk about this. So let's go back to just the real estate example. So let's say that in the real estate world, you are focused on sellers, and that's your one person because you know your goal and your destination is that you want to have 150 listing appointments. I'm just using real estate as an example.
Sure.
And as that may be true, you go look at Instagram and all of your messaging is towards buyers. Interesting. So if your focus is listing and sellers, and yet all of your messaging is for buyers, do you believe that you have diluted messaging? And if the answer is yes, nothing's going to resonate with your one person. Nothing. Nothing will resonate. So you have to have clear messaging that resonates with your one person.
That's so key too, because I think it helps us as entrepreneurs be intentional with our content, be intentional with our behaviors. So, if you meet somebody, let's say you are a real estate agent and that is your goal, and you start talking to them and they have a buyer, maybe that's an opportunity for you to say no to the buyer, refer it out and get the income and focus on the listing.
Yeah,
I mean, you can take it as far as you need to go to stay singularly focused. Make sure that you're not posting about, oh, I just helped these buyers close on a property. I just helped these sellers close and get above asking is a better message if you have both sides of the deal.
That's
and
right.
So it just, again, like you said, don't dilute the message.
Well, don't dilute the message or don't have diluted messaging, though your messaging, here's what I want everyone to hear, has to resonate with your one person. Right? It has to resonate with that one person. And now let's get off social media. That goes true for your newsletters. That goes true for your emailing. That goes true for your billboards if you have some billboards. All of your forward-facing exposure in marketing has to resonate with your one person. Now, how do we find what resonates with your one person? I'm going to give you a series of 4 questions that will help you unpack that. Now, the first question looks like this. What is your one person's one big problem? What is their one big problem? So, Jess, let's go back into our coaching world. So for the coaches who are in the community and the coaches that we coach, what would you say is their one big problem?
Building a successful coaching business.
That's right. Yep, that's right. So we'll stay right there and we're going to use ourselves as an example. So if our one person are coaches or is a coach,
Mhm.
And our messaging has to resonate with them to get them to raise their hand. If we can answer what is their one big problem, we can start to put that into our messaging.
Mhm.
So that's question number one. Question number two is, what is their dream outcome? Right? What is their dream outcome?
And we
And
know
just as
that their dream outcome, well, at least in a coach's instance, is to monetize or make money and help other people through coaching.
that's
And
right.
everybody has a different number there.
That's very true. And you and I use the language to go from being an amateur to a professional, right? And an
Correct.
amateur is, and some of you listening are coaches that don't charge anybody any money. So therefore you're an amateur compared to a
Mhm.
professional that charges people money, right? So their dream outcome is to be a professional, if we want to just keep it simple. Now let's go to
Yep.
question number three. What is question number three? What are 3 to 5 pains that your one person feels from their one big problem? So what are 3 to 5 pains that your one person feels from their one big problem? Do they feel isolated? Do they feel not confident? Do they feel whatever, insecure? There's many different feelings that you can come up with. That again, let's pause the questions and go back to, does the message resonate with your one person? When you can identify the 3 to 5 pains, now in your messaging to your one person, you can start to use the feelings that you know that they are feeling to what? Engage with them, right?
Mhm.
To
So
engage
we
with them.
actually do want to talk about feelings or connect with feelings and
Yes.
not just focus 100% on business messaging, is what you're saying.
Well, I mean, you think about it, right? You've got 2 types of buyers out there. You've got
Mhm.
tactical buyers, which are the ones that look at how-tos. You've got the emotional buyers. The emotional buyers are going to be the ones that say, ooh, I feel this way. And if you can solve my feeling problem, then I'm going to buy with you. The tactical people
Mhm.
say, oh, you got a 10-step program? Let me jump into that 10 steps because that's really going to help me and I can follow a program, right?
Mhm.
The last question to create inside of building the right resonating messaging is, what are 3 to 5 outcomes that your one person gets when their one problem is solved? Right? What are 3 to 5 outcomes that your one person gets when their one big problem is solved? And there's many different ways to answer that. Though we know that when you can actually think and speak and feel like you're one person, your messaging will resonate with them all day long.
I love that. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it, in a way, it takes a lot of pressure off you coming at your messaging as being perfect or being a performer or putting on a persona that you think will resonate. If you just literally put yourself in their shoes, which you should be able to do fairly easily because it's the person you once were that
That's
you're
right.
trying to serve in the future, then it makes it so simple. What were your pain points 2 years ago or 5 years ago? Or what were your pain points in this situation when you were in it? And what were the outcomes that you desired to have after those were solved? And I think it simplifies this entire process while helping you stay focused.
Yep, 100%. So I love the word resonate, right? Because we have listeners that listen to this literally all over the globe. And if they haven't, Jess, if they haven't self-selected off of this podcast right now, our messaging is resonating with them. It's working, right?
Mhm.
If they have, if you've turned it off because you're like, what in the hell are they talking about? I don't even want to listen to them anymore. Then this message didn't resonate with you. Now, let me pause there for a second. I say that kind of tongue in cheek and jokingly. You want that to happen though, right? You
Mhm.
want your messaging to land out there into the universe and for your one person to receive it, and not everybody else is going to receive it. So they will self-select out of that messaging and your one person will start to raise their hand. And that's what you want to do
Yeah,
all
I
day
like it.
and every day. Yep, perfect. Okay, so that we have step 1, what's your destination?
Mhm.
Step 2, who are you speaking to? And step 3 is, what are the 1 to 3 steps you will do weekly that'll get you closer to your destination? So what are the 1 to 3 steps that you will do weekly that'll get you closer to your destination? Now, let's break this down. You used the word habits earlier in the podcast.
I did.
Gosh, it's such a fun word. Habits, 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 right? We all have good habits and we all have bad habits. Do you know your good and bad habits, Jess?
I feel like I do.
I know I do too. And I'm going to blame it on my wife. They are called real. And they're like those fake M&Ms that you can get from Whole Foods. That is such a bad habit of mine to just go home and smash like 5 handfuls of those because they're so stinking good.
You
Alan,
and
if
your
you're listening to
sweets.
this, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
You and your sweets. It cracks
Oh,
me up. Mine
so
is
good.
Amazon. I have a problem. I have a problem on Amazon, which is why I took the app off my homepage. So it's not a natural reaction. I have to be intentional and go find it. So there's things you can do that are simple like that. Like, oh, Adam could just, walk past them. But,
I
I
usually
can't click
only
the button
start
anymore.
I usually only smash these fake M&Ms like on Fridays or something like that, or maybe
Oh,
a few on
okay.
the weekend. But let's go back to habits, right? So I love how you articulated when we were defining your destination that you can now, when you have clarity, know what to say no to and help you start to build the right habits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So habits are something that you need to track. Habits are something you need to become aware of. Now, there's an old system that we used to follow, Jess, called the cash talk inside of Keller Williams, right? It was a knowledge, attitude, skills, and habits conversation that you would have with someone when you brought them into your world, if you hired them. And the last one was the word habits. So knowledge, attitude, skills, and habits. And with the word habits, the question went like this: what are the habits that you know someone who is massively successful in this space does that you don't do? Right? So what are the habits that someone is doing in this space that is massively successful that you aren't, that they're doing that you aren't doing? So you got to go out and be aware of the habits that you don't have, that someone else has, that they've reached the destination that you want to get to, and you have to start to implement those habits.
I love that question. And, I've actually adapted that question for when I'm at events with, people who are ahead of me in the game, whether they're an author or speaker or podcaster or whatever. I love to ask the question, what's one habit that you have now that you wish
good.
you'd learned or implemented sooner? And it's fascinating to see what they say because all of them sound so simple. It was just something hadn't clicked yet. And so the reason I bring that up is because I think sometimes people try to make habits too complex and then they don't become habitual. They just become a pain point instead of a habit. And then they
Right.
don't feel like they're moving the ball forward or getting closer to their destination. So whenever we mention the word habits, whenever we talk about consistent actions, the key for me is keep it super simple, small, and measurable so that you can actually see growth and achievement in it.
Yep. Love that. Now, here's something in the habit space, and then we'll move on from this. We know there's the 4 processes or steps of learning look like this. It starts with an unconscious incompetence. And that basically says you don't know what you don't know. So in the space of your habits that are going to help you get to your destination, you've got to go uncover what you don't know, which is part of that cash talk, right? Is what are the habits that someone else already has that is having success in this space. So the second part of the learning is which is the conscious incompetence. I know what I don't know, which moves you to the conscious competence. Oh, now I know what I need to know. Getting to the last part of what you just said, which is an unconscious competence, and you don't even have to think about it. For the last 8 years, I think it goes all the way back 8 years, I have my silly little journal that every time I walk home from the gym, I literally write in there, today was day 5 of 300 of going to the gym. It's a habit. It's a tracker. I can see my progress in there, and it absolutely means nothing else to anybody except for me. And I know that I'm on track for my progress of the goal of fitness and health, right? It's a habit though. It's a habit.
Yeah.
All right. So that's one thing that you should pay attention to in your 1 to 3 steps. Another thing you should pay attention to is, well, I'll just share with you mine. When I went through this flow, I said, okay, we're going to build new habits. I'm also going to start in the space of the content, right? So the 3 things that I said I needed to do was continue to build content that was organic. I needed to be in front of my one person and create offers for them. And the last thing I said I needed to do was be a continual thought leader. Right? Because here's what we know, Jess. You love to read. You are one of the most learning-based education people that I have ever met. And by the way, if you ever want to test Jess, give her a book and say, yep, I challenge you to read this in one day. She'll beat you and she'll probably read it in an hour. Though in the thought leader space, that was something that I really intentionally put a focus on this year, is continuing to learn so that you can stay in the space of helping others in a thought leader space. So those are the 3 steps that I said that as I was doing this model and creating it, that I felt I needed as well. So the 1 to 3 steps.
I like that. And I think another way to kind of look at those is you took action on, or you decided to commit to taking action on things that you knew that you needed to drive the business forward, including having a growth mindset, right? So that thought leader, that creating content, all of that is around growth mindset. Because if you rely only on yourself and what you currently know, you're not going to grow. So you have to keep consuming content, being in proximity to others. And so you mentioned proximity to your one person, but it's also proximity to other thought leaders.
Right.
And so, you can extrapolate what you want from that. But I truly believe that creating intentional habits or actions and learning how to grow and being in proximity to others should be in some format on everybody's list.
100% agreed. So let's take this back to the top, right? We started with, I have so many things on my to-do list. I run 1,000,000 miles an hour. I do a little bit of this, I do a little bit of that, and I feel like I'm exhausting myself. I'm looking like Adam, I'm losing my hair, and I'm not making any more money, right? And I just have diluted focus. So this Business Clarity Accelerator with those 3 questions, destination, your who, and then your 1 to 3 steps that you take weekly should clear all that up. So you can remove the word diluted and now simply have focus in your space.
Perfect.
Yes, that was fun.
I love it. That was fun. And you know what? Like you said, if you're listening while you're doing something, maybe slow down, go back, write those 3 questions out, and then journal around them, or at least put them somewhere where you can reference them while you're thinking. I do a lot of thinking on the treadmill and zone out driving and all that. So I get it. And I think you have to be intentional around this because you can sit there and have all the ideas in the world, but until you implement and take action, they're just going to be ideas.
Yep, totally. So here's what I want you to do. Go to my Instagram, Adam R. Roach, and just type in BCA, Business Clarity Accelerator, and I'll shoot the model over to you with everything already filled out so you can have that. Jess, I want to do one more thing. This is totally off script. I want to talk to the people that are listening who are amateur coaches. If you're an amateur coach and you want to become a professional coach, the simple difference is you're coaching right now and not making any money, and you want to coach and make money. I want to encourage you to come to the I Love Coaching community. I want to encourage you to step into our space of what we do every single waking day, and just that is help coaches build businesses that allow them to either stay in their survivor job or step out of their survivor job and live a life that they are empowering others and they're in control of their time again.
I love it.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as either checking out our website, ilovecoachingco.com, or DMing Adam or myself on Facebook or Instagram or any social platform, the word community, and we're happy to have that conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Because I know you're listening right now, and I know that you are coaching people and or helping people, and think about the opportunities you could have to help people and be paid for your time, right? That is so important, is that you understand your time value of money. Okay. Jess, that's all I have for today.
Perfect.
Everybody, go subscribe to this. If you like it, download it, and we will be here next time. Thanks for listening. See you. Bye.